The lesson tonight is on Crossroads. Up until this point, we have been working on self-identity, self-reflection. What from the past has created some of the problems that we have today. But now we're at a crossroads. When you come to step 10, now we're starting to see a glimpse of what's to come, not what was. And so if you look at step 10, it says that we continue to take a personal inventory, and when we're wrong, promptly admit it. Now when you look at step 11, it says we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. And then you look at step 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to people that are suffering and to practice these principles in all our affairs. If you notice now, the last 3 steps are now dealing with people outside of these rooms. Because there is something about what we're learning in here that at some point we have to apply it into the world that we live in. And we have to apply it to the people that we live with and work with. Because if we look around us, there's a lot of suffering because there's a lot of people that don't understand the power of the name. There's a lot of people out there suffering because they just don't know that there is something greater out there for them to get themselves into. That the pain really becomes an option if you decide to choose Jesus as a way out. That you don't no longer have to sit and suffer any longer. It becomes a choice, not a way of our life. And at one time, man, it was a part of our life. I understood that the things that I did, there were going to be consequences. And the sad thing is I was willing to serve the consequence because I wanted my fix, whatever the fix is. And the fix isn't also not necessarily always just a drug. It's a bad relationship. It's a job. It's an overeating habit. It's a way that we make other people feel when we want to feel better about ourselves. There's a lot of things that we do to fix. Now, I know people that will just love to rumor and gossip. Not necessarily because they want to hurt other people, but there is power in knowledge. And if I know something that you don't, I like to dangle out in front of you and just add a little this and that just so that you know that I know something because it feels powerful to know something. But it's misused. And that feeling will eventually go away until where I'm empty again. But when I go and I get the Spirit and I get filled by what God is trying to offer me, that doesn't have to go away. But I can choose for it to at any time. I pick up one more methamphetamine, man, and I'm done. I have worked too hard and have built too much up. I know it's going to all be gone. I'll trade Jan and this meeting off, for a glass pipe if I start smoking again. I know it. I'm not going to sit there and confuse myself and think, it'll be different this time. No, it won't. In fact, you guys will know I won't be here. Jesus explains in the way in John 8:32, you will know the truth, and the truth will what? It'll set you free. And I don't know about you guys, but I want to be free now. I didn't at one time, but now that I got a little taste of it, I want to be free. I no longer want something to control the way I think, feel, talk, act. I don't want to have to be a certain way or take something in or do something to myself to realize how valuable and good God has really made me to be. So the crossroad. We continually take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, we promptly admitted it. You know what I like about that step? It knows us. It don't say if we were wrong. It don't say that maybe we're going to be wrong. The step says when we are wrong. When. So there's 3 parts to that step. There's a what. What is it? We continually take personal inventory. Then there's the why, when we're wrong. And then there's the what next. Well, we promptly admit it. There's 3 steps to that one step that we have to identify with when we're wrong. Now, the hardest thing that a lot of us, or that I've had to face, is going back telling people that I'm sorry. You would think that there was power in that, but sometimes I don't want to look back at my past and realize everything that I was about was fake. I don't want to always look back and have, because see, sometimes people that I make apologies to or make amends to, they want to use that against me later on. And so before I'm even making amends, I'm already walking up to that person thinking, well, I'm not going to make a full amends because they're just going to use that against me later on. That ain't my business what they do with it later on. And I got to remember, if I'm doing it in the name of Jesus, if I'm going in there because it's going to clear my side of the street, I don't care what they're going to do with it later. I don't care how they think they're going to use it against me. I don't care, because all I know is that if I don't completely clear out the secrets of my past, they will fester me and they will become problems of my future. I don't need problems in my future if I'm leaving the past behind me. And I see too many of us addicts in here, too many of us people in here, we are carrying by the boatloads things from our past that it is time to let that go. It is time to make our amends and let that go. I am no longer defined by the problems of my past. I am only defined by my recovery, my future, my relationship with God, and who I am today, not who I was yesterday. It doesn't matter if I got tattoos or piercings. It don't matter if I got fat felonies. It matters on where God is going to take me and where I'm ready to go. That's what I'm ready to do today as a drug addict. That's where you guys are ready to go. I serve with a team of servants. We go down to a place in Indianapolis where I want you guys to go up to Indianapolis, where I want you guys at my back, because I know you've been there and you know what it's about, and I feel safe when I go 12 or 20 deep with you guys. Not that we need to feel it, but I know. Because you're going to know when I'm acting different, or when you see me going around the corner with Johnny who knows what, and I'll be like, I'm right back, I'll be praying, and you're like, oh, no, you're not. Oh, no, you're not. We know. We know each other. So in step 10, the acrostic for step 10 is 10, T-E-N. And the first of the letter, the T, take time to do a daily inventory. Now, the neat things about the inventory is it's going to tell you the things that are good that's going on in your life, but it also needs to show you that the things that are not as good that's going on in your life. It is not to judge you. It is not to make you feel bad. It is not to do anything but let you know on what is going on in your life right now. And I don't know about you guys, but I like to believe it's true about all of us. In the mess, it's chaotic. Hanging around toxic people, chaotic. Trying to figure out what's next, chaotic. And to stop and take an inventory, and all of a sudden I got the good and the bad list, and I got maybe a good to 25 bads, and I got to know that something about my life needs to change. But now when I take inventories, I realize that good section is filling up too. I actually have some good things to put on the good section. And then I got to sit back and look, man, did I really do anything bad? And as long as I don't try to rationalize my bad behaviors, there's some things that go on that list. Things for me to work on. See, I don't want to arrive. I don't want to ever arrive. Because I have a feeling, because of the type of person that I am, if I arrive, I will stop seeking. And I know that there is no way in 3 years of me being clean off of everything that I've arrived at anything, other than a start, other than a fresh place for someone to walk in that hasn't even begun to arrive in anything, walk in the door more hopeless than I am, and I sit there and go, I know that face all too well. Come here and let us love you. I know I'm at least arrived to that point. Look at that, see? You've arrived. See what I mean, how that works? You could be standing in the place of arrival waiting for that door to open up, and she walks in. Where have you been all my life? So there's a lot of things that I don't know yet, and I don't ever want to stop seeking. And so I got to take the time to do a daily inventory. And you guys will not believe it, I'm not all that great of a person still. Me and my wife, we fight. We argue. Now, we usually get over it in about 2.5, 3 minutes. It doesn't last all day, 2 weeks, or, we're not divorcing each other and breaking stuff. But we have disagreements. And a lot of times, if I'm to be honest, is because I want to be bullheaded and I don't want her to be right. But I'll tell you what, she is one of the strongest spiritual leaders I've ever walked under. Now, I know it's my place as a man to be the spiritual leader, and there are some times where I'm not fit. There are some times that I'm not in my word. There are some times that I'm not praying. And there's some times that she's looking at me and she's like, I ain't following you, bro. I'm not doing it. In fact, if this is how you want us to be, you do that, and I'm going to be praying for you over here. And then I'm like, I look like the dude at Walmart when she's shopping. That guy that stands behind his wife when she's pushing the cart and just like. Sometimes in my life, if I'm taking an inventory, I have to understand that I got to follow the boss. And then there's other times, though, when she's not spiritually doing what she needs to do. And she's not taking care of herself. And she's not doing the right thing, and she's not making some good decisions. And I got to come up behind her and say, look, bro, it's my turn. I'm the leader. And I need you to follow me. And that's how we're going to work as a team. But it doesn't just work with me and her as husband and wife. It can work with all of us like that. If you guys are with each other and you guys are keeping each other's company and you guys are all working these steps together and working this program and following God together and reading one word and yada, 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 doing all that, you should know how each other look and what each other is saying on Facebook. You should understand when someone's not having that right day, and you should be the one calling them up saying, I love you, man. Something's going on, and it's time to tell me what it is before we lose you. Because me and Jan used to sit back, and we used to see the little things on Facebook unravel, and we didn't understand, and we didn't really know how to go about saying it, and then all of a sudden they disappear. And then me and Jan sit back and go, we saw it coming, but we said nothing. Now, I know there's going to be some times where me and Jan is going to be standing in front of Jesus and the Spirit and God, and they're going to be going, hey, that was really nice. You did a great homeless ministry. But how about this time? You knew you were supposed to call that person, and they died. See, me and Jan has had some really close people in our life die, and I'm not going to say it's because we didn't say something, but there were a couple times where I knew we should have. And so me and Jan, when we're having, I think we'll answer for that. But the point is, if I take an inventory, I can learn from that experience so that I don't continue to make those same mistakes. All right. The E. Evaluate the good and the bad. And so here's the thing I like. I hear people talking about, okay, let me give you just the example of this story. So there was a guy I was working with, and a long, long time ago, and he was in recovery, and he went to a barbecue, okay? And someone handed him a drink, and he was recovering alcoholic, and he took the drink, and he instantly realized it was alcohol, and he spit it out. And I'm like, oh, that's fantastic. Good for you. He's like, no. He goes, I just went back and got more. He says, I decided I already messed up, and it didn't matter. I might as well just do it and go on. I said, do what? He said, yeah, I messed it up, and so I just went ahead and just got drunk and figured I'd start over again. I said, well, how long have you been drinking now? Well, it's been about 2 years now. I'm like, this happened 2 years ago? I thought you were sober. Okay. Evaluate the good and the bad. We're going to have to understand that we don't have to throw it all in when life happens. And I've seen too many people just want to throw it all in. Bad day, throw it in. Jesus didn't promise us all great days. He didn't promise us a great, exciting life. He said, pick up your cross and follow me. And I didn't see nothing about what that dude had that was ever easy. Ever. But he did it. And the cool thing about when Jesus did it is he never said, I did it. He said he did it. And I think that's a great lesson for me in my life, and I think it's a great lesson. I didn't get off the methamphetamines because Lord knows I tried many times. I got 5 felonies to prove it. It didn't work the way I did it. I did it. But I finally submitted into the way of his style. And by submitting to his style, I don't have to figure out for myself what to do. I just have to follow instructions as they come along. And the neat thing is I don't have to think ahead or plan ahead. I just have to follow what's being told to me in the moment. I have to make quick decisions based on his belief system, and then I don't have to try to figure anything out. I'm at a crossroad in my life where I get to finally see that the past is the past and the future is up here. I don't have to guess which direction I need to go in. I just need to follow the sound of the voice. And it says in Jeremiah 1:5, it says, I know what that voice sounds like. He knew me when I was in the womb. He spoke to me. He talked to me. We had a relationship. I know what that voice is. Now, what I love about women is they have women's intuition. Maybe that's the voice, maybe not. Men have gut feelings. I don't know how many times I've ignored that gut. Maybe you shouldn't be doing this. Oh, yes, I should. You know, and then I'm sitting in jail or something, or in a fight with Jan, and I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. So I know what the voice is when the voice speaks to me. Do I listen? Evaluate the good and the bad. Sometimes I really do not want to work these steps. I'm forced to admit that on a daily basis I've done some things wrong. I also know that I'm going to make mistakes. I struggle. In years of my recovery, I'm going to struggle. until one day I saw something hanging in a meeting room. Would you rather be right or well? Now, I don't know about your guys' struggle for yourself, but what we find in recovery when we get to step 10 is a lot of us just want to be right. I'm right. I know where I'm at. You did me wrong 2 times ago, or whatever the case may be. And what happens is I want to be more right than well. And step 10 says that I better take an inventory, because my wanting to be right will take me right to a dope man, and it has before. It'll take me right out of a relationship. It will take me right into jail. It'll take me right out of a job. It'll take me right out of everywhere but into the arms of Jesus. That's where I want to be. When I'm in the arms of Jesus, I don't have to be in the arms of a dope man. And so what happens is that sometimes I got to take a look at this statement and go, I would rather be well than right. I'm okay with someone telling me I'm wrong. I got called on my behavior 2 weeks ago. Where are you at? I got called on my behavior. I got scolded in a loving, great way. She didn't do it in front of you guys. She didn't do it on Facebook. She said, I got to talk to you, bro. And I got to talk to Mama, too, because you guys are together. And Jared sat me down and she said, look. And she read me my inventory. And she was absolutely right. And I had to sit there and listen to this. And I was sitting there going, oh my goodness, this feels weird, because usually I'm doing this to somebody else. I'm in the hot seat. I'm in the hot seat. And I kept looking at Jan, because Jan's supposed to save me when I'm in the hot seat. And Jan didn't save me. She's just sitting there going. And what this young lady, the courage that it took for her to do that, to go up to one of her leaders and say, you did something wrong, and I need to tell you about this. I can't imagine what courage that took. Because you walk away with going, are they going to like me after this? Are they going to love me still? Do I really want to make the relationship rocky over just a this or that? Yes, you do. You do want to do that. And she did it, and it changed me. It changed the way I talk about certain things, the way I do certain things. And I walked out of there knowing that someone loved me enough to tell me exactly what was going on with me so that I don't make the same mistakes as everybody else. I had to take a little bit of my medicine, and you know what? Apparently I'm a drug addict because I liked the medicine. It was good. It was all right. Absolutely appreciate it. I don't know if I'd like it every day, but, you know, it was all right. Very all right. The end part. Need to admit our wrongs promptly. Now, promptly is a funny word with some of us, right? Like, I know I could do wrong and promptly admit it when I don't think I'm going to be in trouble anymore. I can promptly admit it, like if I have certain people over and I'm like, it's time to admit it. So here's my example. I don't pay attention when I drive. I really don't know what I do. Because I don't really get on the phone or anything. I just don't pay attention. And I had Nick with me, and we were at a gas station pulling away, and they have those concrete statues of, like, cigars. I don't know. They're supposed to guard something, right? Well, anyway, I had Jan's van, and I turned too sharply, and you could hear it. And so I didn't know if I was supposed to stop or go faster. So I went faster thinking I'd get away from it faster. And all it wound up doing was going a little bit further down the line there. And so I get out of the van, and everyone piles out of the van, and they're like, oh, you know, wait till she runs out. And I'm just looking at this thing, and I'm like, okay, I'll tell her, because, you know, we have that relationship. I'll tell her. Well, then I had to go to work, right? And so I went to work, and I thought, okay, this is what I'm going to do to tell her. I'm going to invite her over for lunch. Come, we're going to go grab lunch. I said, well, Jan, come get me after work, and we'll have lunch. Well, so it was dark, and, of course, I conveniently had the van parked the opposite way of where I knew she was going to pull into. And she comes in, and I said, well, let's take the van, and I'll drive. Well, it was dark, and so I figured if she walked by and saw it, I would be honest, because that's what I'm supposed to do. But when she got in the van and didn't say nothing, I was like, I don't want to ruin a good dinner. You know what I mean? So I'll tell her tomorrow. So when I get home that night, I make sure that we had a big picture window thing, and I made sure that I parked the van so that the scratch was facing the other side of the street. And I'm like, okay. So then I'm conjuring up the story, right? I'm like, well, wait a minute, I didn't tell her last night. Now we're getting to 2 days now, and so I'm going to tell her that a car must have come down the street and whacked the van. I'm going to be honestly lying to her, right? And so then I thought, well, I don't want to lie. I'm trying not to do that anymore. And we had such a good morning. We woke up, and we're like, hey, babe. And I was like, I can't tell her now because I don't want to ruin the mood, right? And so I wait till later on that. So days pass. And I'm thinking, maybe I'll never tell her. And every time you look by the van, you could see this. And so finally, I did what any good guy does. I wait till Nick and Jesse are with me, and I tell Nick and Jesse, I'm like, hey, ask Jan about the van and what happened, and try to make a joke out of it. But do it in front of me so that we're all together. And of course, they're like, so what happened to the van? And they did it perfectly, beautifully, right? And instead of stopping like good friends would do, they just had to keep going. Well, I think he probably knew about it, and I'm not really sure why he didn't tell you. And so my sponsees, my top two sponsees at the time were grinding it in, and grinding it in. And I was like, oh, my goodness. And finally I had to tell her, yes, I knew I did it. And I was supposed to tell you days ago, but we had such good days. And why ruin good days with that? And she just, you're dumb. I know I'm dumb. I'm dumb. So in my mind, that could be technically promptly. Right? I mean, if you were allowing me to make a decision on some definitions of terms in recovery, I really have a problem with being an addict-minded person, criminal-minded person, that you'll know when I'm thinking criminally-minded because stuff like that comes out. To be a responsible Christian, to be a responsible man, promptly means the minute I knew I was in the wrong. That means within that 12-hour period. I got it down to 12 hours, So as you're going on through this week, take your inventory, because you're going to want to take your inventory before someone else does. And I'm telling you, if you are saying these things about yourself, rest assured 20 people already see it too. Whether they choose to say it is a different thing. But take your inventory. I would rather call myself out on some behaviors that are not good than have everyone else have to call them out on me later. Because I know when I'm walking with Christ, He's speaking to me the whole time. And He knows, and I know, that none of us are going to be perfect. And that's what's going to separate us from the rest of the world. If you're walking around if you're walking around as an oddball and you're thinking, I'm really not fitting in this world very well, I really don't fit in society much, you're not supposed to. He told us in Jeremiah that He set us apart. And right now, as drug addicts getting clean, as people getting hope in their life, you are set apart. You don't want to fit no mold. You don't want to go into a building and feel like everybody else does. You don't want to walk into a room and feel like everyone else does. You don't want to do the things that they have to do to make yourself happy. Celebrate Recovery says to set yourself apart and be different. But realize that you are in a group of people that are just as different as you, and that we can be accepting of what each other's behaviors are. We can be accepting and love each other for what we do. We don't have to act perfect, be perfect, or think perfect. All we got to do is accept each other for where we are and show each other how to walk. And we're going to make it. I like what Mike did earlier. We can sit back and have those self-defeating beliefs that I'm not loved, that no one likes me, that I don't have value and hope. Or I can believe what God told me about me, that I have so much more, and I don't even know how much more yet I have. This is how I feel. This is the reward so far that I have gotten from the Lord for being 3 years clean. In my absolute mess and destruction and 5 felonies and everything I've done bad, He has brought me to this point now. I can't imagine what He's going to reward me and give me when I do this clean for the next 5 or 6 years and where He's going to put me at. We are all a beacon of hope and a light to someone. We are all somebody's lighthouse. And you know what the cool thing about a lighthouse is? The lighthouse isn't out in the water. It doesn't swim. It don't float. It don't bounce around. It is a permanent fixture in the place. It's a solid rock that has hope lights going all over the place. It ain't moving. It don't matter what the storm looks like. It don't matter what it looks like around you. It don't matter what's being said to it. The lighthouse ain't moving. It don't matter what the waves hit it, how many times the wave hit it. The lighthouse is strong and it's on a foundation. That's exactly where we're at. We have a foundation of life. We have a foundation of hope. We have a Christ-centered program. And it's time for us to realize that we are lighthouses to someone walking in. Storms don't bother us. They're not going to bother us. They may scare us, but we go through the storm. We're going to take a break, and then we'll go meet back in small groups. We'll come back and sing some songs, and then we'll go prospectively home or work or wherever we got to go. Jeremy, I love you, Lithium. I love you, bro. I love you.
because of you.